How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am an avid herpetologist. With the BT13 set releasing in the US this coming Friday, it is time once again for another new Digimon TCG format. I'm going to be kicking off the release of this new format with a deck I've actually been wanting to make for a little while now. This is going to be Magnamon Armor Control. Now, this is not a new deck, but has gotten some new tools from the last two sets, being EX4 and BT13. I actually wanted to make this deck profile during the EX4 format, since we did get some new tools there, but since I knew we were going to be getting even more during BT13, I figured I would hold off, and now that those cards are out thanks to the pre-releases this past weekend, I am finally ready to show you guys my Armor Control list. This deck is, I mentioned, incredibly fun. It's honestly pretty diverse and pretty flexible. It's a deck that can actually hold its own relatively well in the new format, so let's go ahead and get into it. We are going to be, of course, starting with our eggs as always. Now, there are several eggs you can run in Armor Control. I am personally opting to run 4 copies of Wanyamon from BT11. This is an egg with a when attacking effect where if you have a blue Tamer in play, you can draw 1 card. Now, as I mentioned, there are plenty of eggs you can run in blue decks these days. You've got Upamons, you can still run many copies of Veemon, but I'm going to be opting for Wanyamon just because I think it's probably going to be the most consistent card draw outlet that we have for this particular list. Moving right along, let's go ahead and start talking about the rookies of our list. We are going to be playing lots and lots of Veemon, starting off with 4 copies, of course, of Jamming Veemon, the promo. Now, the promo Veemon probably needs no introduction. It's very simple. It's a rookie, 3 to play, 2000 DP, and has jamming, meaning this rookie can swing in pretty much unimpeded, check security for free, and then do more shenanigans. This is a very vital part of the Armor Control strategy, being able to get in some early chip damage, and then evo into armors, potentially to unsuspend, and then swing again. So, of course, we are going to have to play a full 4 copies of that Veemon. We are also playing a full 4 copies of Veemon from BT12. Now, this is going to be the first of many searchers this deck has access to. BT12 Veemon is 3 to play, has 1000 DP. On play, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add any card with Imperialdramon in its name or the free trait, and a card with Davis Motomiya in its name from among them to your hand. The rest go to the bottom. It also has an inheritable where at the end of your turn, this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play can DNA Digivolve for the cost. So this Veemon is definitely one of the better searchers the deck has access to, being able to grab not only, of course, any of our free Digimon, which is going to be most of the list, but it's also going to be able to grab any of our Tamers, giving it a little bit of extra flexibility. So this probably is the best of the group. Being able to DNA Digivolve at end of turn also is a nice effect to have. We are playing 2 DNA targets in this particular list, both of which have very beneficial on Digivolution effects that we are probably not going to mind if we go into at the end of the turn, because we are still going to be benefiting from those. Other searches we're playing, we are playing 2 copies of Veemon from BT8. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Add 1 2-color blue card from among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Moving right into our next searcher, we'll talk about them both in a moment, but we are splitting our second searcher between that Veemon as well as Structure Deck Imperialdramon Veemon. This Veemon is slightly different, revealing the top 3 cards of your deck and letting you add anything with free in its traits among them to your hand. So each of these Veemon have some benefits and some downsides. Starting with BT8 Veemon, the nice part about it is it can add any 2-color blue card, meaning it can grab our potential 2-color Tamers, as well as 2-color blue cards we may be running that do not have the free trait. In this case, that is going to include GoldVeedramon, a new addition from EX4, which unfortunately does have the vaccine trait. It is not a free Digimon. This Veemon also has the benefit of being able to add, of course, Magnamon X Antibody, which is going to be one of the deck's primary boss monsters. So we're, of course, going to be very happy to have that. Now, this other Veemon reveals the top 3 cards of your deck and adds any card with the free trait among them to your hand. We trade that out for the ability to grab any of our Veemons, as well as being able to grab Ankylomon, another tech choice that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. So each of these searchers does have benefit to them. I'm not really super into one or the other, so I'm choosing to play a split of 2-2 just to make sure that we have access to both. But of course, we do still have 4 copies of the free searcher as well. So this is honestly something that you can kind of debate in your own personal list, which ones you want to run. This is just the split that I'm going to be using. And to round our rookies off, we are also playing 2 copies of EX1 Veemon. This Veemon has an inheritable where, during your main phase, if this Digimon unsuspends once per turn, you can gain a free memory. We are playing quite a few unsuspend effects, not only on our inherent Magnamons, but also with our Davis and Kens. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Being able to gain that memory may be the difference between passing turn and being able to swing an additional time. So we do want to be playing at least 2 copies of that. All right, now we're going to move into the champions, which is debatably the most important spot in this particular deck. We are playing 4 copies of the namesake card, BT8 Magnamon. This is honestly a very solid card. It has a lot of benefits to it. It is 7 to play, 7,000 DP, Digivolves from Veemon for a cost of 3, which is not too unreasonable, especially considering the power this card brings. It is an inherent blocker with Armor Purge, meaning if it would be destroyed, you can remove the top card instead. And when Digivolving, you can unsuspend this Digimon and then give it plus 2,000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn for every armor form card in your trash. Meaning this card can get very big mid to late game, especially depending on how aggressive you were in your first couple of turns. So this Magnamon is definitely one of the most flexible and definitely one of the most robust tools that this deck has access to. He is definitely going to be the centerpiece. We want to be seeing him quite a bit. And thanks to BT13, we also have a second copy of Magnamon. So this Magnamon is a little bit different. It's still 7 to play and 7,000 DP, 3 to Digivolve from Veemon, still has blocker. However, instead of Armor Purge, it has an all turns effect, where if this Digimon would leave play, you can draw a card, and then play any Veemon you want from either its sources or from your hand. Now, this has some benefits and it has some downsides when compared to the original Magnamon. The difference between this effect and Armor Purge, they're subtle, but they are meaningful. Since Magnamon is, again, the centerpiece of the deck, we are going to be playing at least 2 copies to have some redundancy in the name. Moving on to our other armor forms, we are playing 4 copies of Lighdramon. Now, Lighdramon is a pretty good card. It has Armor Purge, of course. It's only 5 to play and 5,000 DP, Digivolves 2 from Veemon. Has, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. This is great for sniping small bodies early on, but honestly, the primary reason we want to be playing 4 copies of Lighdramon is, as I've already mentioned, we are playing copies of Davis and Ken. So while we want to have more copies of armor forms to load up our trash with, having a green body in particular can be really helpful for memory generation. So we are going to be playing 4 copies of Lighdramon. We're also going to be playing 3 copies of Flamedramon, next of our armor forms. Flamedramon is also 5 to play and 5,000 DP, 2 to Digivolve from Veemon. Once again, has Armor Purge, and when attacking, this Digimon gains plus 3,000 DP. But the big reason we're going to be playing 3 copies of Flamedramon is we are going to be playing 3 copies of Kimeramon in our ultimate slot, and having as many colors as possible is going to be beneficial for that. Flamedramon is basically here to be another armor form while providing an extra color. And the last armor form that we're going to be playing is a single copy of GoldVeedramon from EX4. Now, during the EX4 format, when I had this deck first put together, we were playing more copies of GoldVeedramon, but those copies have now been transitioned into the copies of course, BT13 Magnamon. But nonetheless, GoldVeedramon does carry some benefits that Magnamon doesn't have, namely Armor Purge, of course, being one of them. It is cheaper to play with only 6,000 EP, and is cheaper to Digivolve for only 2. Now, GoldVeedramon, as mentioned before, is not a free Digimon. It is considered a vaccine, which means you do have to be careful with not being able to add it off of some of our searchers. It does still have Armor Purge, and when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2,000 EP for the turn, and if you have a blue or yellow Tamer in play, or if you have a card with the Armor Form trait in your trash, one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 EP or less cannot attack or block until the end of your opponent's turn. This is mostly flavor text, but there are going to be situations where giving that minus 2,000 can become relevant. This deck is playing quite a few DP reduction effects, and honestly, being able to just free something to prevent something from attacking for a turn alone can be very helpful. So we're going to be playing just a single copy of GoldVeedramon to have, again, another armor form body, while keeping the yellow color in there, because we are going to be needing that yellow color for a couple of different reasons. Still in our champion slots, we are, as I mentioned, playing 2 copies of Ankylomon. Now, Ankylomon is 4 to play and 4,000 DP, 2 to Digivolve from a yellow or blue, but if you would play it from your hand, you can play it for only a cost of 3 if you already have a blue Digimon in play, making it very cheap and cost efficient. Ankylomon also has a really nice inheritable when attacking. If you have a blue Digimon in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Now this is a much nicer effect than what we have on GoldVeedramon, where this inheritable will come up and be relevant quite a bit of the time, especially when you do start stacking this again with some of our other DP reduction effects. Ankylomon is really, really strong. It's definitely nice to have as a 2 of, and since it is considered a free Digimon, again, you can add it off of our free searchers. So 2 copies of Ankylomon. And rounding off our champions in the last slot, a single copy of Lanamon, so we can have our hybrid for game when needed. Lanamon is 5 to play, 4000 DP, 2 to Digivolve. If this Digimon would Digivolve from your hand, of course, it is a hybrid, so you can Digivolve onto one of your Tamers, which is always going to be nice. Now, a lot of lists I've seen are going to be running copies of Kimeramon, but I'm choosing to run Lanamon because I think her effect is honestly a lot more synergistic with the Armor Rush archetype. So I'm opting to run a copy of Lanamon for that reason. She's been doing really well so far. If you're not using her yet, I do highly recommend checking her out. But she is going to be our hybrid for game when we need it. We are playing a total of 5 Tamers, so there's options for that as well. Moving on into the ultimate slots, which I think are some of the most exciting plays this deck has available to it, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Shakkoumon. Shakkoumon is a very neat, very unique Digimon. It is, of course, 8 to play, 8000 DP, 4 to Digivolve from a yellow or blue, but has that DNA Digivolution effect from a yellow and a blue level 4. When Digivolving, if you have 5 or less security, you can recover 1. Then if DNA Digivolving, you can also return one of your opponent's Digimon to their hand as long as its level is equal to or less than the number of security you have in play. This is really nice. If you have a full 5 security when you DNA Digivolve into it, the maximum you're going to be able to bounce is a 6, which is certainly nothing to scoff at. It is a very nice removal effect, especially when it comes with a recovery on top of it. Now, Shakkoumon also has an inheritable when attacking. One of your opponent's Digimon again gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. So this stacks really well with Ankylomon. If we Digivolve on top of Shakkoumon and have Ankylo already in the stack, we can now be giving minus 6000 DP or spread out 2 minus 3000s. So they really will help us to kind of control our opponent's board surprisingly well. But the real, in my opinion, strongest card this deck has available to it is 3 copies of Kimeramon. Kimeramon is 8 to play, 8000 DP, 4 to Digivolve from any color that you'd like, but it can also DNA Digivolve from any 2 level 4 Digimon regardless of their color. When Digivolving, you can place a level 5 or lower Digimon from your trash under Kimeramon as his bottom source. Then, up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for every color Kimeramon has. Kimeramon is also going to gain the colors of all Digimon in his sources, and on your turn, as long as he has 4 colors or more, he's going to gain plus 4000 DP, making him a 12,000 power level 5. So very, very strong. Now, Kimeramon, as I mentioned, is best in this deck where you can have access to a maximum of 5 colors. Blue is going to be in the stack pretty much no matter what, but you also have access to yellow, green, and red. As long as you have a yellow and blue Digimon and either Lighdramon or Flamedramon, when you go into Kimeramon, you can tuck one of the colors that you are potentially missing from your trash and then give minus 5000 DP to several of your opponent's Digimon, making this card an enormous tempo swing against aggressive decks that are looking to load the field with lots of small bodies while also lowering some larger bodies and making them able to be swung over. Kimeramon is easily one of the best swing plays, again, that this deck has access to. 3-up feels just about right. You don't necessarily need more than that, but we're going to be playing 6 ultimates in that spot, which will give the deck a lot of zero-cost aggression options to potentially swing for game. We are playing 3 copies of Magnamon X Antibody. This is still a super fantastic card in the new meta. 12 to play, 11,000 DP, 3 to Digivolve, or 4 to Digivolve directly from any Magnamon that you have in play, so you can go from 4 directly into your level 6. On the opponent's turn, if your opponent attacks with one of their Digimon, if a card with Armor Form in its traits, or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution sources, you can switch the target of the attack to this Digimon. This effect is going to be able to completely shut off aggression from a lot of smaller aggressive decks. Decks that are looking to do chip damage, such as Crossheart and Hunters, are going to have a very hard time dealing with Magnamon as long as you're playing around their potential outs. He's very sticky, very difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. We are playing 3 copies. We are playing one other level 6, and that's going to be a single copy of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode from the Structure deck. Imperialdramon is 13 to play, 12,000 DP, 4 to Digivolve from green or blue. Has a when Digivolving effect, you may play a level 4 or lower blue and a level 4 or lower green Digimon from the sources without paying their memory cost. Now, there's a couple of cards I've been toying with in this particular slot, but I've decided to go with Dragon Mode for a couple of reasons. First of all, since we are playing 4 copies of Lighdramon, it's most likely we're going to be able to drop both a green and a blue body, and be able to potentially go into a second DNA Digivolution right afterwards. However, there's another big synergy that we get with Dragon Mode, and that's going to be the way that the new Magnamon works from BT13. Since Magnamon isn't using an armor purge effect, it's instead playing Veemon from sources or hand, that means that when we play Magnamon out as a blocker from Imperialdramon Dragon Mode, if it blocks and would be deleted, or in any case leave the field, it's going to be able to play out a Veemon from our hand and keep a body in play. So there's actually some added little synergy interaction there that really helps to push Imperialdramon's value up a little bit, in my opinion, now that we have access to that new tool in the form of the new Magnamon. Moving on into our Tamers, of course, we're playing 2 copies of Davis Motomiya. He is going to be our memory setter, 4 to play, sets our memory to 3 at the start of the turn. And on play, of course, reveals the top 3 cards of our deck, adds a blue and a green Digimon from among them to our hand. The rest go to the bottom. Once again, playing a full 4 copies of Lighdramon, just in case we happen to see one off of our Davises, lets us add 2 different Digimon to our hand. And of course, will let us add Dragon Mode if we happen to see that to our hand as well. Very, very nice. Of course, Davis probably doesn't need any introduction. We are going to be playing 2 copies. And we are playing a total of 3 copies of Davis and Ken. Now, Davis and Ken is a BT8 Tamer. It is 4 to play. It is both green and blue. It has a start of the main phase effect, where if you have a blue Digimon in play, gain a memory, and if you have a green Digimon in play, gain a memory. Also, on your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you can suspend this Tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. This is going to be where we get a lot of our classic Armor Rush aggression, where we can swing in with some of our champion level bodies. If they happen to Armor Purge out, we can then digivolve into a new Armor Purge body, unsuspend, and continue to swing for more aggression. So very, very strong. This Tamer is great for memory advantage, being able to go above the 3 that our setters are going to be putting us at. And since we have multiple green bodies, ideally we'll be able to be gaining full value off of these Tamers each turn as well. Last, before we finish up our list, we are playing a total of 4 options. We are going to be playing 2 copies of Awakening of the Golden Knight. This option card is 3 to play. It is a yellow option card, but if you have a Digimon with the Armor Form trait in play, you can use it without meeting its color requirements. You can digivolve one of your Digimon with the Armor Form trait into a Digimon with Magnamon in its name in your hand, ignoring the Digivolution requirements and without paying its memory cost. The Digimon that digivolve with this effect can't have its DP reduced by your opponent's effects until the end of your opponent's turn. Since we're moving into a format where Shine Greymon is going to be one of the top dogs, if you want this deck to be able to compete, you are going to need an answer to DP reduction, and Awakening of the Golden Knight is a great way to get there. Now, I'm personally only running 2 copies of Awakening, but you can absolutely run more copies of this. It actually has a really nice security effect as well, where you can also return 1 card with Magnamon in its name from your trash to your hand, and then add this card to your hand, perfectly setting up the following turn to go into the Magnamon. The last card we're going to be playing, possibly my favorite personal card in the deck, is 2 copies of Heaven's Judgment. This is a new option card from EX4. It is 7 to play. However, while you have a green Digimon or Tamer in play, you can use it without meeting its color requirements, which is really nice. That means our Davis and Ken will let us use this at any time, as well as our Lighdramons, which will basically count as a yellow Digimon for that case. Now, the way this effect works, you activate the effect below, and then for each color your Digimon have, you can activate it again. The effect being activated is giving an opponent's Digimon minus 6,000 DP. So the way that Heaven's Judgment works, since you are getting an initial 6,000 DP, let's say that you have one of your level 4s in play. Since it's going to most likely have more than 1 color, you are already going to be distributing 3 instances of minus 6,000 DP, which can kill 3 reasonably sized bodies, or kill 1 giant body with 18,000 DP or less. However, if we want to start looking at the ceiling for Heaven's Judgment, let's look at a scenario where we have Kimeramon. Let's say that Kimeramon has been able to create the perfect stack of all 5 colors, where it DNA digivolved, let's say, over Lighdramon and Magnamon, and was able to add a Flamedramon from trash to its sources. Since Kimeramon already brings the white color to the table, and has the colors of all Digimon in its sources, it's now going to be a 5-color Digimon, featuring yellow, blue, green, red, and white. Heaven's Judgment will now activate for a total of 6 instances of minus 6,000 damage. This is going to mean that all in total, we are distributing a total of 36,000 1000 DP to our opponent's field. If that isn't a complete universal board wipe, I don't know what is. Heaven's Judgment is probably one of the highest ceiling removal spells ever introduced to the game. It is extremely powerful and has a pretty reasonable floor as well, so I'm going to be playing 2 copies of it just so we have a nice removal option, just in case our opponent's board gets out of hand. And yeah, that's going to about do it for this deck profile. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another one of my deck profiles. This is one I've been pretty excited about for a while. I think this deck is a ton of fun. It's honestly very pretty to look at. It features a lot of colors and has a very unique playstyle. So if you guys are looking for something new to try out at your next locals, feel free to give Armor Control a try. And hey, I know a lot of people have been looking to build different variations of this deck, so if you have one of your own, feel free to drop it down in the comments below and let me know if you have any ideas for how to tweak or improve my personal list. With that, I'm an avid herpetologist. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.